In this video, we're going to go over my daily schedule. One of the frequently asked questions is going to be, Nick, what kind of schedule do you have? What do you do each day? How do you run your blog, your business while still working, maybe a full-time job or while doing family things with friends? How do you fit it in? So one of the cool things with blogging is it's pretty flexible. You can literally do it as a side hobby or a full-time gig. Right now, I'm fortunate enough to do it full-time. For the first time in this year, for 2019. In the past, I've been able to do it full time, but I've still maintained other side jobs and side gigs that are making me money along with my blog, just so I can be in those early stages of growth, making as much money as I can while I'm young to try to invest it and compound it. So I do own some rental properties in real estate, and it's because I've been able to save away a bunch of money from my websites as well as my other jobs. So I've been in your shoes. If you're working a full-time job, I've worked a 9 to 5 and still run my blog. I even was in college, going through classes and studying and still trying to fit in time to run my blog. So today, basically, I'm going to show you the 2 hours that I'm trying to spend per day on my website, fitnessandtacos.com. So here we are, kind of the overview. 1 hour spent editing, 30 minutes spent creating pins for a blog article to then put on Pinterest, where then I'll get on Tailwind, spend 15 minutes scheduling those pins, and then creating an email blast to let all of my email list know about a new blog post so they can check it out, and that'll get traffic back to my website from my email subscribers as well as the pins I'm putting out onto Pinterest. So it should take about a total of 2 hours. Let's go ahead and break it down a little more detailed here. All right, so first we've got the editing one blog article. So right now I'm using a service called Upwork, and it's a freelancing website where you can connect with freelancers. So there's all kinds of writers on there. If you watched the previous video where I detailed my strategy of trying to publish one blog article a day, in order to do that, since I don't have time to write a blog article a day and still run my other websites I'm running, since this is a brand new website I'm adding into the mix of things, I'm funding writers. So I'm actually paying for writers on Upwork to write articles for my fitness site. They have way more knowledge on the subject. If you find specific writers that focus on fitness all the time, I'm sure they know a lot about fitness. They've written on it before. So I trust that they're going to write good quality articles around fitness for my website. I also send them example articles I find around the internet that I like, that they can rewrite kind of in their own way and add additional research to make it kind of a better, more in-depth topic or guide. So Upwork, it's free to join. You just have to, of course, pay out when the article is due. So the money gets held in like an escrow account. And I will be making a separate video here shortly showing you the hiring process on Upwork. Next, what I'll do is I'll copy paste their article. Normally they send me a Word document. I'll copy paste it into my WordPress website and I'll begin editing. So again, in an upcoming video, I'm going to show you exactly how I edit articles, and you're also going to see the other video where I show you how I hire writers and how I handle the whole Upwork side of things. So stay tuned for those tutorials. Then once I've copied my article into WordPress, I begin editing it. So we give it a title and a meta description. That's what shows up out on Google to try to incentivize people to want to click my article over all the other articles around a similar topic. So I do spend some time as part of this 1 hour researching what I think my article title is going to be. I see what other websites are titling their articles, if it's a similar type of article, just to see what articles are currently ranking in that first, second position, what title they used, since they seem to be getting the most clicks since Google put them up there in that 1 or 2 position in the search rankings. And then meta description can help entice somebody to click on yours over somebody else's. So those are the main things I'm doing there. Featured image. Every blog article, I try to create a featured image. That's what shows up out on my blog feed. So people can scroll my blog feed and see, an image that's got like a title overlaid on top of it. And that gives them an incentive to want to click on that article when they're scrolling my blog. Post categories and tags. This is where we can then organize our blog content, so that our users that are reading our website, they can quickly navigate around to different topics that are most relevant to them. So I try to categorize every blog post, weight loss tips, workout routines, dieting, recipes, things like that. And then I also fix any errors related to the Yoast SEO plugin. So again, in a moment here in the editing video, when you watch that one, you're going to get to see that Yoast plugin example. It's got like a red light, green light, yellow light. So basically it tells you what's wrong with your post, why it's not optimized yet for Google search results. So it gives you different tips. You can make sure all those tips are done. Everything will turn green. You'll get green lighted. That means you're good to go as far as publishing it and having it optimized for Google. Now, they're just recommendations. You can still publish it with red lights and yellow lights. I'm just letting you know that if you want to fix everything that Yoast is highlighting as an error, then you'll get all green lights and you'll get a green score, and that's good. All right, so after editing that blog post and getting it scheduled, next I'll hop over to Canva, which is a free photo design platform, and I'll begin creating different pin templates for that blog post. And then I also, what I'm doing, since that blog post, what I'm doing is scheduling ahead of time. So when an article comes in from Upwork, it might not get published today. It might not get published next week. I have a schedule where I'm scheduling things out ahead of time. So what I edit today might not get published for a couple weeks. So what I'll do is, I'll click schedule. And again, I'll show you that in another video. I'm going to show you exactly how I'm scheduling my blog posts. But what I'll do with the Pinterest is I'll actually go onto my blog, my website, and pull the article that was just published today. So I don't want you to get confused and think I'm making 5 pins here that are related to my article I just edited today. You could do that if you wanted to kind of stay on top of things. But what I'll do is I'll just wait till the day that article gets published, and then I'll hop on Canva and create, 5 pins for it, and I'll start promoting it right away on Pinterest. So that's what I'm doing next. After I edit one blog article, then I move over to Canva and I go back to my blog and I look, all right, what article just published today? And I'll take that article and I'll create 5 pins for it in Canva. So I'll have to source, photos to use as the background image, and then I'll have to figure out a title that I want to overlay with text. And then we'll go ahead and upload and design everything in Canva. Click save, download it as either a PNG or JPEG file. And now I've got those 5 pins on my computer. So this takes about 30 minutes or so. It takes 5-6 minutes per pin to create, especially if you set up some templates. Then you can just keep reusing the same templates over and over, just customizing the titles and the background images, so it saves a lot of time. Next, I'll jump over to Tailwind now that I've got those 5 images I just created, and I'll upload them into Tailwind so that now Tailwind can schedule them out to be published out onto Pinterest. So I'll have to give each pin a description, and I'll add some hashtags to my description as well so that people on Pinterest searching hashtags could find my pins. I'll choose the most relevant boards that these pins should be pinned to. You can choose multiple boards, so I create 5 different pins, but each pin might get pinned out to 2 or 3 different boards. So that's going to, effectively double or triple the amount of pins going out on my Pinterest account, since each pin's getting put out multiple times on different boards. So I'll set schedules and intervals. That way the same pin doesn't necessarily get pinned out 2 times in a row. So I might say, hey, you can publish it today, but I want 4 or 5 days interval in between the next time that same exact pin gets published to a new board. That way it kind of keeps things, more organized and clean, so my followers aren't seeing the exact same pin, back-to-back days in a row. I want to give some time in between where they can see other content that I'm pinning first. All right, and then last, I'll spend about 15 minutes going over onto Convertkit, which is my email software. If you want to go to asknickfoy.com/convertkit, that's my affiliate link. I think you can use asknickfoy.com/CK. That's a second link I created for my Convertkit affiliate code. That just lets Convertkit know I referred you. It helps me get credit if you want to help me out. They'll pay me some extra income. It's at no extra cost to you. So Convertkit, that's where I go send out a broadcast email every day. So I'll get on there, I'll create, a new fresh email, giving it a subject line that's clever that I think will incentivize people to open it so I get a higher open rate. Blasting this out to my email list. So let's say I have 1,000 people on my email list. A lot of times you can split test subject lines using Convertkit. They have a feature. So I can actually type in 2 different subject lines. It's called A/B testing. You have your A subject line and you have your B subject line. They'll send both out to about 30% of your audience. So about 300 people will get the initial emails. 150 will get one subject. The other 150 will get the other subject. It'll wait a few hours, I think 3-4 hours, and it'll decide, okay, subject A had the best open rate. So that's the one that we're going to use for the rest of the subscribers. So then the other 700 or 70% of subscribers will get blasted out the email with that subject that won. So it's kind of a cool feature I like about Convertkit. You can split test your subject lines and deliver it to figure out which one gets the best open rate, and then that's the one that gets blasted out to the rest of your email list. So when I'm creating this broadcast email, I'm spending 15 minutes, typing in my subjects, entering my email body, which might just be a short, email saying, hey, check out my new blog post that I just published over on fitnessandtacos.com. Here's what we're covering today, the 15 best weight loss tips for men or for women or for fat loss. So whatever the topic is that day, that blog article just got published to my website that day, we're going to take that blog article and blast it out now to my email list to let them know it's now live on my website so they can go check it out. Then I also add in some Google tracking links. So rather than just pasting my article link into the email, I'll first take that article link and I'll go into Google's URL builder. It's called like a Google URL campaign builder. And basically I'll punch it in there and then I'll put in, what that particular campaign is. So I'll put whatever today's date is and whatever the email or the title of the blog post is. And that way it lets me know that when I'm later in my Google Analytics looking at my traffic, I can see how many people came to my website, each month from my different emails I'm sending out. So it's a way to track clicks coming to the website through these different emails. That way I can keep track of which email is driving the most traffic, and I can see, what topics people seem to click through the most for. Because if I don't individually track these emails, then it would show up in Google Analytics as just Convertkit traffic, and I would have no idea which particular emails did the best. All right, then I'll go schedule my email. So a lot of times if I'm, publishing a blog post that day, I'll just go ahead and blast the email out right away. Sometimes I like to get ahead and, I might grab, since I'm already scheduling these blog posts ahead of time inside of WordPress, I've already got the next, 7, 14, 21 days worth of blog posts scheduled in WordPress. So I can go into WordPress, grab the different links to those different blog posts, and I can take those back into Convertkit, into my email blast. And I can go ahead and create these email blasts ahead of time, just like I create the blog posts ahead of time. And I can schedule my emails ahead of time as well, so that they'll be published the same day that blog post is published. I'll just spread it out maybe a half hour or so. That way I can make sure the blog post publishes first, and then about a half hour later, that email blast will get fired out so that my entire email list can get that email letting them know that the blog post is live, and they can click through and read it. And that's how I'm going to drive traffic over to my website from my email list. So that's pretty much my daily schedule for you. Sometimes if I've got some other time after those initial 2 hours, I'll spend time filming a YouTube video, maybe record a podcast, outreach to other bloggers to make connections, to promote my content to them that I think's, they'd be interested in reading, and maybe they'll share it with their audience. So that could get me, more traffic to my website coming from another influencer or another blogger who helps me out and shares. I'll go join more Pinterest group boards. That way, when I'm pinning things to Pinterest, pinning to group boards is a great way to get in front of lots of people that maybe aren't following you, but they follow other members of that group board. So it's a way to get in front of lots of people since you don't have a big following starting out on your Pinterest account. And then I also just spend time doing research, looking for more blog post content ideas to create more blog articles around, and I'll get those lined up so that I can send them over to my writers. That way I can always keep a running list of posts that I want my writers to start knocking out for me. And then I might go review some analytics, figure out where traffic's coming from, what's working, what's not working. And then lastly, at the end of each month, I try to do my accounting. So tracking what my expenses were for the month, what my income is. So those are all the other tasks that you can fit in. But the initial 2 hours is pretty much just this summary email here at the beginning. So again, I reviewed how I spend about an hour taking my blog post off of Upwork when it gets submitted to me from a writer. I'll then import it over into WordPress. I'll begin editing it, and I'll schedule it so that it gets scheduled ahead of time, weeks in advance. I'll try to keep an inventory of blog posts scheduled ahead of time so that I'm not falling behind in case I happen to get tied up for a week or two. I don't have to worry about missing a day on my blog. Then I'll go in and create, some pins for a blog post that just published today, and I'll get those uploaded into Tailwind so they can start firing out in the upcoming days, and that'll get traffic then to that new blog post through Tailwind scheduling tool. And then I'll go ahead and blast out an email blast about that blog post as well to get my email list over to my website to read that article. And so a lot of these things you can do ahead of time. I can schedule pins in advance so that they get published, days or weeks from now. I can schedule emails ahead of time. I can schedule blogs ahead of time. So I'm always trying to just stay ahead of things. That way, like I said, if I want to go on vacation or something and take like a week off from working, then I don't have to worry about missing a day of email blasts, of pins getting pinned out to my Pinterest account, and blog posts getting published out to my blog post or to my website. So that's why I'm always, trying to keep these systems organized and running smoothly where I'm ahead of the game, just to make everything less stressful. All right, that concludes this video on what my schedule's like. So again, you can check out these other videos where I give you the exact step-by-step editing process for my blog posts. I'll show you another video where I actually create my pins. I'll have another video on here you can check out where I show you what I'm doing exactly on Tailwind. And then again, I'll have another video where you can check out how I do my email blast. So this is kind of just the overview video to give you an idea of what my day is like. But go ahead and check out these other videos that I'm going to be publishing to show you exactly how I do each thing.